Once again, welcome to Maths with Ease by Mr. Kamotho, and we are going to respond to Activity 1 in Handling Data 5. And we are told that in Titanic, or rather the Titanic hit an iceberg on April 15th, 1992. And many people lost their lives in this famous disaster. The two-way table shows the passenger list deaths by cabin class on the ship, and you can see the table. Let us just try to interpret the table a little bit. Cabin class, rescued deaths, and the total. For example, those who were in first class, they were 325 in total, and 203 of those were rescued, and 122 died. The ship crew, they were 885 in total, and out of those, only 212 were rescued and 673 lost their lives. All these others are totals. For example, 711 in total were rescued, 1,490 died, and in total it had 2,201 people on board. Let's now go to question with that brief knowledge or idea of what's happening here. It's a question on probability, and we are told that an estimate for the probability that a passenger did not survive, given that they were in a second class cabin is worked out in the slide. The probability that a passenger did not survive given that they were in a second class cabin is worked out in the slide. And I just want to briefly highlight the second class. We have 167 deaths. The probability that did not survive, that means 167 out of the probability that they happened to be in second class, out of the total 285, that is 285, that is what is giving us 0.59, which is the calculation in the slide, and that is it. Let us work out an estimate for the probability that a passenger was rescued, given that they were A, in first class, rescued given they were in first class. So we highlight the first class, we see how many people are rescued out of the total, and we just talk about part A of the question. Part A of the question, in first class, 203 were rescued out of the total 325, and that is the probability of a passenger being in the first class having been rescued, and this is almost 0.62. The second part of the question is talking about the second class. The probability that a passenger was rescued given that he was in the second class. We highlight the second class, a total of 285, a total of 285, and those who were rescued were 118. You can see here rescued 118. So this is basically 0.41. You can confirm that using your calculator. And part 3 of the same question, given that the passenger was in the third class. In the third class, you can already see we had 706 passengers. Out of those, only 178 were rescued, and the probability of being rescued if you are in the third class is basically or just about 0.25, and those are the solutions to part A of the question. Part B of the question, or another question follows. Was it more likely for a person not to be rescued? Was it more likely for a person not to be rescued if they were a passenger or if they were a crew member? In this case, we just have to know how many passengers did we have in total. And let's just have it here. How many passengers did we have in total? The passengers we had in total, or the total passengers, we are going to have all those who are in the first class, all those who are in the first class, which is 325 plus 285 who are in the second class, and 706 who are in the third class. So we have 325 plus 285 plus 706. All these give us a total of, this is giving us a total of 1,316. 1,316. You can just confirm that using your calculator. Out of this, we are talking about those who are not rescued. Passengers not rescued. Passengers not rescued, or the passengers who died, rescued. The passengers who died, whether they were in the first class, second class, or third class. 122 of the first class died. So 122 died. 122 in the first class died. 167 in the second class died. And 528. 528, I mean the 528 in the third class died. So 122 plus 167 plus 528. We can also confirm what is that. Let's see. 122 plus 167 plus 528. That is 817 passengers in total died. So the probability of a passenger having died is the total number of dead passenger divided by the total number of passengers on board. So the probability of dead passenger is the total number of passengers who died divided by the total number of passengers on board, 1316. And this is what we are having, the answer divided by 1316, which is 0.62. This is 0.62, the probability of a passenger not to be rescued. Now we are comparing this with the crew not being rescued. So we need to talk about the total crew. The total number of crew is, ship crew is just 885. You can see along this line, these are crew. And the dead crew, the crew who died, the number of crew who died, rescued and dead, we have 673. So the probability now of having a dead crew is the number of dead crew in total, which is 673, out of the total number of crew who were on board, that is over 885. You just have to engage our calculator. 676.73 divided by 885, and the answer is 0.76. This is 0.76, and that is the probability of a crew not surviving or dying or not being rescued. 0.76. So the question, was it more likely for a person not to be rescued if they were a passenger or if they were a crew? And the answer is, it is more likely for a passenger not to be rescued if they were crew, because there is high probability of crew dying than the passengers dying. So how to answer that question? So it was more likely for a crew not to be rescued than the passenger. Let's just write it here. Let's just put it down here. It was more likely for a crew not to be rescued than a passenger. That is just how we answer that question. And please follow. It is a long question, very involving but good one. Make sure you follow the explanation in details. Thank you, and let us meet in the next video.